Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we're going to be making a simple but oh so good blueberry frosting. Today's recipe would be perfect if you have a surplus of fresh, juicy blueberries, but it also works equally well if you only have frozen blueberries on hand, and that is actually what I'm going to be using today because my fresh berries are not in the best shape just yet here. So this recipe is actually going to start on the stovetop where we're going to make a thick blueberry sauce. We're going to be using this to flavor our frosting. It works really well. So grab yourself a medium or small sized saucepan, and we're going to add 1 cup of blueberries to this, along with a tablespoon of granulated sugar, a tablespoon of lemon juice. This adds some nice freshness, a little bit of tartness to the sauce. Pull out the seeds because they bother me, even though everything's going to be going through a strainer, so it's not actually necessary. We're also going to flavor this with just a little bit of salt, just adding an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Now let's turn our stovetop heat to medium-low, and we are going to stir this frequently until the berries start to break down and release their juices. As the berries start to soften and break down, you can help them along in this sauce making process by gently squishing them with your spatula. Don't try to squeeze them before they're already breaking down, or it could kind of make a mess. Now once those berries start to break up, again, you could use your spatula, but I am just going to use a potato masher to make quick work of mashing them. You can move this frosting along. So once the berries have released their juices and everything's nice and broken down, then we're going to let this simmer until it's thickened. I don't like to bring things to like a super full rolling boil because you can end up kind of scalding the bottom and you can lose some of your sauce. You can dry things out too much that way. So we're just going to cook this until it's thickened. And a good sign that it's thickened is if you drag your spatula along the bottom, you'll see that a trail forms, and it's taking a little bit of time for the sauce to reclaim that trail that we just made. And exactly how long this takes is going to vary depending on a lot of things, like the size of your pan, your exact stovetop heat. But I would say for me, this has probably been about 7 minutes I've been doing this. All right, let's take this off the heat. And even though we mashed those blueberries, we have a lot of blueberry solids remaining that we don't want to end up in our frosting. So what you need is a heat-proof bowl and a fine mesh strainer. We're going to force all that sauce through the strainer and leave behind the solids. And scrape that pan well. And then use your spatula to force through as much of that sauce as you can. You should end up with about a 1/4 cup, or I think it's like 65 grams. All right, you don't need these. Now we're going to let this sauce cool completely before we go any further with the frosting. Since it's a small bit and I have it in a fairly large bowl, it's not going to take too long, but you do not want this to be even a little bit warm when you proceed. All right, once your blueberry sauce has cooled completely, we can move on to the next step, and I just switched mine over to a different container. So to make the actual frosting, we're going to start with 1 cup or 226 grams of softened unsalted butter. Drop these in a large mixing bowl. A bit of butter stuck behind, and you guys know we don't waste that stuff around here. All right, before we start adding any sugar, I like to use an electric mixer to beat the butter until it is smooth and creamy. And of course, you could use a stand mixer with a paddle attachment instead. I just prefer to use my electric hand mixer today. All right, now we'll start to gradually add our powdered sugar. I have 3½ cups here. I'm just going to add a bit at a time. Try to not end up wearing it. Last bit. All right, let's do a quick scrape of the sides and bottom of the bowl. Another thing that you may notice with this recipe is we are not adding vanilla extract. That is intentional. The vanilla, turns out, just kind of detracts from the blueberry flavor, so we're skipping it here. And now we can start adding our blueberry sauce that we made. Again, it needs to be completely cooled. So I just like to add about a tablespoon at a time. If you add too much at once, you could overwhelm the frosting and it could break. So we're going to be nice and gradual. Look how pretty that is. Now, if you ended up with more than 4 tablespoons or like 65 grams of sauce, you probably have more than your frosting needs. So I recommend stopping at that 4th tablespoon and checking the consistency. If you have less than that, you're fine. Don't worry about it. But if you have more, don't add too much or you're going to ruin the frosting. This takes on such a pretty color, and as the frosting sits, it tends to become even darker in color, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, I'm going to add my last bit. And let's scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl, make sure everything is nicely incorporated. It smells so good. This works really well with with a lot of different recipes. You can use it with whatever you'd like, but I really like it with my white cupcakes that I recently shared. And as I mentioned, as this sits, I have found that the color tends to get even darker and the flavor tends to develop even more. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pipe this on some cupcakes just so you can see the consistency. All right, let's go ahead and decorate these. I like to do little rosettes. Any piping tip you like will work just fine, but today I am using the Attico 846, and this just makes such a pretty purple frosting. Just add a little decoration there. And that is how you make my personal favorite blueberry frosting. If you try this, let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. You don't even need the cupcake, you just need a spoon.